Hi, and thank you for visiting my channel. For more information, kindly subscribe and follow. Now let's get started.
Raw superstar Rhea Ripley has been crowned with a new name, which, like her other monikers, sits well with her personality. Mommy got this unique name from Saraya, who was known as Paige during her time with WWE. Rhea Ripley is one of the most popular superstars on the WWE roster. Aside from her excellent wrestling skills, the former women's world champion is also known for her unique metal-style personality, something with which Saraya also resonates. The 32-year-old used to go by the nickname Anti-Diva during her WWE run, as she refused to conform to the traditional diva stereotype. During a recent interview with Chris Van Vliet on Insight, Saraya expressed her desire to either team up with Rhea Ripley or stand across the ring from her. The former Divas champion referred to Mommy as the ultimate goth sister. "I always get Rhea Ripley to either be a tag team partner, the original goth sister to now, the ultimate goth sister. So I'd love to be in a team with her or wrestle her, because that's what people want." Saraya also listed Mercedes Moné and Natalya as her dream opponents. "I would love to wrestle Mercedes Moné down the line, because it's a built-in storyline. All the girls now, they're all superstars, dude. I would get in the ring with anybody at any point in time. They're all amazing. Probably Natalya, again. I love Natty. I've wrestled her a billion times, but, oh my god." Rhea Ripley looked back at her younger self in WWE. While Rhea Ripley now has a unique, metal-style presentation, she was a lot different when she started in WWE. Mommy recently looked back at a picture of herself from NXT, where she had a completely different look. She noted that she was not happy with the old version of herself. "Well, as you can see, I grew the hell up. The difference is that the smile is fake. This one is real." She was not happy, not confident, and very, very insecure. So, that would be the biggest difference. "I don't care what people think about me anymore because this Rhea Ripley, she's dead to the world. She died a long time ago. She's innocent, and I'm glad that she's gone," Ripley said. Mommy has had a rapid ascent in WWE and is already a multi-time world champion at the age of 28. She is likely to headline the upcoming Evolution 2 Premium Live event, where she can once again become the women's world champion if she overcomes Io Sky. The roar of the crowd inside the arena was deafening, but it was nothing compared to the pounding in Rhea Ripley's chest as she stood behind the black curtain, waiting for her cue. She rolled her shoulders, her leather jacket creaking under the bright lights that bled through the edges. For years, she'd walked out to the thunder of "This Is My Brutality," the name Rhea Ripley echoing through every corner of the world, a name that struck fear, awe, and a strange kind of inspiration in equal measure. But tonight, that name was gone. It had started as a whisper backstage. Paul Levesque, Triple H himself, had pulled her aside after Raw 2 weeks ago. He'd spoken to her in that calm, authoritative voice of his, the one that could settle a hurricane or stir one up, depending on what he wanted. "It's time," he'd said. "Time for what?" she'd asked, her face stoic but her pulse racing. "Time to evolve, Rhea." She'd laugh then, tossing her platinum hair over her shoulder. "I've been evolving since the day I got here." Triple H hadn't smiled. He just handed her a piece of paper. On it, in bold black ink, was a single word, "Nix." "What is this?" she asked. "Your next step," he'd said. "Rhea Ripley is the name that made you. But you're bigger than that now. You're not just brutality, you're the darkness that swallows it. You're the night that terrifies the day. You are Nyx." The name tasted foreign at first, like an unfamiliar metal on her tongue. Nyx. The Greek goddess of the night. The primordial darkness. A force older than the gods themselves. Rhea had always been powerful, but this was ancient power. Timeless. Unfathomable. She'd trained differently for the last 2 weeks, though no one knew it. Alone in a dark ring at the Performance Center at midnight. Alone under the flickering lights, where she whispered the name to herself until it became hers. Nix. 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 The lights in the arena dimmed, pulling Rhea, no, Nix, back to the present. Her music hit, but it wasn't the same. The familiar heavy guitars were there, but now there was something deeper, a rumble, a whisper in the distortion, like 1,000 crows crying into a storm. The Titantron didn't flash Rhea Ripley anymore. It simply read NYX. White letters on a void of black. The crowd went silent for a heartbeat, confused, breathless, on the edge of panic and excitement. Then the first scream broke the spell, and the rest followed like thunder. She stepped through the curtain. Gone was the Nightmare's familiar swagger, replaced by something darker, slower. Her eyes, once ringed with smudged black liner, now seemed almost inhuman under the lights. The leather jacket she wore was longer, draping behind her like the wings of a night creature. Her hair, still platinum, was streaked with black, a river of shadow running through moonlight. She paused at the top of the ramp. The fans chanted Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley. Out of habit, but some of them caught themselves, unsure if they were allowed to. She tilted her head, a wicked smile curling her lips as she raised a microphone. Rhea Ripley is gone, she said, her voice low, her Australian accent curling around every word like smoke. The Nightmare is dead. A collective gasp. Then a hush. You can chant for her if you want. You can mourn her if you want. But know this, she stepped forward, her boots pounding the ramp in time with her words. What stands before you now is something you can't chant away. You can't break it. You can't survive it. She raised her arms, the lights flickering overhead like dying stars. I am Nyx. The night you never wake from. A new music cue hit, heavier, slower, more ominous, and the lights dipped into blue and black. The audience began to shift, the front row kids wide-eyed, the older fans already on their feet, torn between horror and exhilaration. Some chanted her new name, Nyx. 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 Tentatively at first, then louder, as if to prove they understood. Backstage, the Judgment Day watched on a monitor. Damian Priest grinned, shaking his head. Finn Balor folded his arms, a spark of unease in his eyes. Dominic Mysterio shifted nervously, chewing his bottom lip. This was more than an evolution, it was a coronation. Rhea Ripley had been a nightmare, yes, but nightmares end when you wake up. Nyx? Nyx didn't end. She waited. She consumed. She reached the ring, stepped between the ropes with a slow grace that turned her entrance into a ritual. The lights flickered again as she stood in the center, raising her arms to the sky. Above her, the Titantron showed an eclipse swallowing the sun whole. Then her next opponent's music hit, Liv Morgan, the woman who had stolen Rhea's title not so long ago. Liv stood at the top of the ramp, microphone in hand, trying to look brave. But her wide eyes betrayed her. Rhea, she started. Nyx raised a finger. Don't call me that. Liv hesitated, licked her lips. Nyx, then. You think a new name makes you untouchable? I beat you once. I'll do it again. Nyx's laugh was soft, dangerous. No, Liv. You beat Rhea Ripley. You pinned a nightmare. But you can't pin the night. She dropped the mic, lunged at the ropes, daring Liv to come down. The crowd roared its approval. Liv took a cautious step forward, then another, but the fear in her eyes was real, and Nyx fed on it. Later that night, in a dark locker room far from the noise, Nyx sat alone. She unlaced her boots slowly, feeling the new name settle in her bones. Rhea Ripley had gotten her here, she was grateful for that. But Rhea had limits. Nyx didn't. A knock at the door. It was Triple H again, his face half hidden in shadow. How did it feel? He asked. She smirked, brushing a lock of black and silver hair from her face. It felt like the end. He raised a brow. The end? The end of them thinking they know who I am, she said, standing up, towering over the man who had handed her this rebirth. The end of them thinking they can wake up from me. Outside, the crowd was still chanting. But it wasn't Rhea's name anymore. It was hers. Nix. 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 She stepped past Triple H, her footsteps echoing down the corridor like a promise. The night had arrived, and she would never leave.